Welcome to the Agility in Real Life podcast, Take 5 in Real Life. Now your hosts, Mike Studeman, Jeff Lee, and Pat Campbell.
Hello and welcome back to the Take 5 IRL, Take 5 in Real Life podcast, brought to you by Agility IRL. I'm Mike Studeman, one of the partners at Agility IRL, and I'm joined today by my two other partners, Jeff Lee and Pat Campbell. Jeff and Pat, how are you?
Doing well. Looking forward to Pat's rant today.
I'm doing well, Mike, except I have a building rant that I have to get off my shoulder.
Well, before you do that, let me just lay out the ground rules again for this series on shit we hate about Agile. Apologies for any children listening to the podcast. As our listeners or viewers might recall, we're in this series allowed to give a rant on a topic within the broader Agile community that we really hate. One partner will give that rant. The other two will provide color commentary. We then end the episode with a recommendation for how to achieve maybe the goal associated with that rant in a different way. Jeff, Pat, did I miss any of our guidelines?
I
think you nailed it.
All right. Well, with that, Jeff's had an episode to rant. I've had an episode to rant. So as Pat, you nicely set up, this is your episode. What's some shit you hate about Agile, Pat?
Velocity. Like a lot of Agilists, I began my Agile career appreciating velocity because we were getting away from hours estimates and everything associated with that. The longer I've been in this role, helping clients and in companies, the more I've come to dislike velocity, not necessarily because it isn't useful, but really more how it's been used. As an example, I spent probably a year working to dissuade a VP from using velocity as the primary measure for all 40 teams in his area.
Yeah, a classic dysfunction. Comparing velocity across teams, setting target velocities. Jeff, you've never seen this one, have you?
No, the great thing about target velocities is they are very easy to achieve. As team members, we know what to do. Oh yeah, this we called this thing a 5 when we were doing refinement, but it feels more like an 8. 8. So let's go with 13. Yeah.
It reminds me of Dilbert's cartoon about bugs and being paid by how many bugs and lines of code. And the final frame, I'm going to go ride me a minivan.
Yeah, I think that was Wally that said that. That's a classic one. That's a classic one. Yeah. I mean, velocity for me is when I first learned about it, I was told you can use velocity, but use it correctly. And then I proceeded to be both part of teams and be around organizations that refuse to use it correctly. So what do we do here, Pat? If we're not going to use velocity, what's your alternative?
Oh, before we go on to productive things, we forgot one of the key bad habits or bad ideas with velocity, which is measuring individials by their personal.
Oh, that's a good one. Jeff kicked your rant up a notch here, Pat.
Yeah, I totally see it. Yep. Into managers like, hey, I want to know how much each person is getting done every sprint. So we need to have story points at the individual level. Totally defeats the purpose. It creates this negative incentive for people to work as individuals as opposed to helping each other and being a real team. So it's a dysfunction that it's still out there. Run into it all the time.
If it isn't, lines of code per person, it's velocity points per person. It's however it can be weaponized. And that's the big problem with velocity is that while it may have been a good idea to start with, it has opened up just a can of worms ever since.
All right. So fix us, Pat. What do we do?
Yeah, what's the alternative, Pat?
The alternative is simply to look at how many how many stories you close. If stories are expected to be increments of value, that's what you want to measure anyway. How much value are we adding to the organization that we are part of, right? And while assigning story points may help you in the planning to try to match capacity with commitment, that's where it should stop. Beyond that, start tracking by how many increments of value through stories that you're delivering, and work item age as well. Throughput based on those, you can start to then forecast based on actual delivered value.
Yeah, so like any good podcast host, Pat is pointing us back to our series on flow metrics here, just to call out for our many longtime viewers and listeners. Shift to those flow metrics versus velocity.
And that's been part of my evolution as I've matured in this arena, is that flow metrics really are the best way to approach this. And if you stay focused on that, then you're not going to weaponize or misuse velocity other than what it should be used as, is simply a planning tool for a team.
Jeff, any final words of wisdom to add on to Pat's emphasis on flow metrics?
No, I think it's great. Like Pat said, as we continue to mature and we're seeing more and more teams who are willing to embrace that and go to a different way of working, different way of thinking about the value that they create, that flow metrics gives you. If you're in a team that's you're not ready to make that move yet, or you're getting resistance to proposals, just try to use velocity in the right way, right? It's a planning metric for how much work a team can get done. So watch out for some of those common anti-patterns.
And if you need help with flow metrics, give us a call.
Absolutely. Great advice, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Take5IRL. Please tune in for future episodes. And as Pat said, don't hesitate to reach out if we can be of any assistance. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Pat. Have a great day.
You as well.
Bye, Al. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Take5IRL podcast. If you like it, please go ahead and share it with someone, as well as like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Also, leave us a comment or a suggestion for a future episode. Again, thanks for listening, and we look forward to you joining us next time on the Take5IRL podcast.